everybody. Welcome to the Daily Antidote of Song. I don't know about you, but I need an antidote today. And we'll get into all that other stuff. But I want to welcome you all. We have a very special guest. It's very unusual the Daily Antidote of Song has someone come in from across the Atlantic Ocean. But that's what we have today, and very, very excited. There's lots to talk about with our special guest. But before we get started, let me welcome Sheila from Florida. Hi, Sheila. And Pauline in the United Kingdom. I've got a 10-pound bill in my wallet from my recent trip, planning ahead for Scotland in the fall. Hello, Annette. I see you here every day. Always lovely. And Delhi, hi. You wouldn't be in India, would you? Okay. And let's say hi to Sherry in New Hampshire, closer to my Cape Cod. Kate is home in Charlottesville, Virginia. And day number, what is it again? I just can't seem to remember. Oh, yeah, 811. That comes to us from Carolyn in Boise, Idaho, where there's a man named David Roth running for United States Senate. I've been begging them for a T-shirt, but I'm not getting any response, so I'm putting you on that. Would you, Carolyn? Kathleen, hello in Albuquerque. A welcoming, friendly state to people who are looking for their choices. Yes, I know you are in New Mexico. Thank you. Caroline in D.C., a welcome to you. Dan Walker in Vienna. Hi, Dan. Nice to see you. Storm, always, my fellow Massachusettsian. Did I say that right? Ruth in the U.K., Birmingham. Hello, Ruth from across the pond. Susan Miller, my former home of Seattle. I love the Pacific Northwest. Luda and Mark in Victoria, British Columbia. And with a big, big heart. Lovely. That's well-shaped, too, I must say. I've seen lots of iterations of that. Jim in New York City, my home of the 1980s. Ralph in Victoria. A lot of Victorians. Not attitudes, but locales. Steve and Michelle Schuster. Hi there, Steve. Nice to see you wave. The Curly Tops, keeping a record of perfect attendance intact. We've got Becky. I'm not sure where from, but hi, Becky. Nice to see you. Oh, my screen is hopping around. I hope I'm going to keep up with this. We got okay. Yep. Okay. And now we're to Bonnie in Boise, Idaho. Hi, Bonnie. Love Idaho. I want that T-shirt. Busy Graham, friend of many years. I don't say old friend anymore. It's just unkind to all of us. Hello, Trish. Nice to see you. Bob in Tucson, Arizona. All right. Kevin. Hi, Kevin. We sang a song just for you. I remember on your birthday. Jamie in Victoria. Okay, I should just get a carbon copy of that. Now I'm going to go to the people on the screen who are not in view, but I got LMG, I got Loriana, Kachina and Courtney. I got Nancy. I got Jane. I got Sarah Page and Tejas. I got Serena, Dick and Kathy in where else? You fill in the blank. Victoria. I've got Joni. And I've got Bob Walker's iPad. If I left you out, I apologize. But now let me get to our special guest today. And we're very honored that Christiana Drapkin is coming to us from Berlin, Germany. Although, if I make my guess correctly, you live in the Washington, D.C. area and have dual citizenship, huh? German citizenship is looking pretty good right now. Christiana, I want to welcome you to the Daily Antidote of Song. And I know Joe Rassi is out there somewhere, so we say hi to Joe, okay? So welcome, Christiana. Let's get you unmuted and say hi.
Well, thank you so much. And I think almost everybody here knows me, and I know all of you because very regularly I'm also a participant here and a cheerer on of everybody else, including you, David. And Joe Rassi is here, and Busy Graham. I had come to a lot of community sings on the 21st of a month, long before COVID. So it's just great to have community, and especially in times like these right now, where we really cannot afford to feel alone and left alone. We're not. So we're here, and hopefully we can get ourselves through a week and through a couple of, months, and also the past years. I mean, yesterday we had Rick Palieri here, and he made such a beautiful point of singing through hard times. Singing through hard times, you can't kill the spirit that way,
And I also remember what Rick said yesterday, because I tuned into, although I'm just back from Ireland. He said that in Utah Phillips' great song, he says we are working for better times, working, not waiting. So
that's right.
And
That's
we have
right.
more work to do just based on what's been going on in the last 24 hours.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And I mean, you said just you came back from Ireland. We have a lot of singers or presenters here who from across the Atlantic. Of course, we had Phil from Totnes and Fran, who is hopefully feeling better again. And we had an Italian wonderful guy a while ago. I forget his name right now. But yeah, we're working across everywhere. So yeah.
Hey, what we got to keep these jobs in America. Come on now. What are you talking about?
Okay, okay. I am an immigrant. I'm an American. I'm here now longer in the United States than I've lived my life in my native country. And as American as I feel, it's strange and a wonderful feeling to suddenly be in touch with my roots. And I'm in the city where my mother was born, in Berlin, back in 1936. And she and her newborn little sister of 4 months old and her mom and her grandma were ordered to leave to be on the train station the following day, someday in 1942, when the Allied incendiary bombings were already bombing nightly the civilian population too. So she remembers to this day, and she is now in a memory care unit in a senior home here in Germany. She remembers to this day how the nights in the air raid cellars felt. And again, we can also think with all the conniptions we have going on right now stateside, we can also still have our hearts open for the folks in Ukraine who have to go into these cellars every night. And I mean, the problems reach around the globe, and our love and our actions, our work have to reach around to local, and let's not forget everybody else.
You know, I consider everything you just said as the reason I came today. So from this point forward, it's all extra credit. What have you got for us musically today?
I got a Berliner song, which was written as part of a comic number in an operetta back in 1925. Forgettable operetta, just some light entertainment. But even in the roaring 20s, a lot of people were really poor. So don't believe everything you see in the movies with, glitter and glamour and all the other debauchery or whatever went on. But hardworking people who could barely make a living or put food on the table or keep their children safe and healthy. So this song became really important again in 1948 after World War II. This was a really perilous time when the Soviet Union basically had split off from the other three allies that had won the war together against the Nazi regime. And thank God, thanks for liberating my mom and everybody else at that time. She was a young girl. This song basically shows no matter how crazy and topsy-turvy the world can be and how insane, the river Spree still flows through the city of Berlin, and how no matter how broke we are, as long as mom still has a crust of bread in the larder, we can just stay at home and enjoy it here in Berlin. So that was a song that really lifted the spirits, not only during the 1920s for poor people or for hardworking folks who were really beleaguered by unemployment, by high inflation rates, by revolutionary goings on all around the continent and the country, but also then under the isolation, the blockade from the Soviets a generation later. And that started yesterday in 1948, June 24th. The Soviets clamped down on the kind of insular city, when you look on the map, of West Berlin, and nobody could get in and out. And it was thank you to the American Luftbrücke, to the air bridge that you brought food and coal and fuel that we needed, my mother and my ancestors needed, to make it through a bitter winter of hunger and cold and destroyed buildings. So the same bombers that had come to bomb now came and were lovingly called by the civilian children and population in Berlin the raisin bombers, because the raisin bombers brought sweets and candy and coal and everything. It is still, when my mother told me the stories, it still makes me want to cry. in gratitude though. So here's a song with true Berliner Schnauze and true Berliner sense of humor. Durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. And yes, I wrote a translation 2 nights ago. It's probably in the chat too. But I'll read you the chorus first in English. It means, through Berlin still flows the river Spree. And close by you find the Müggelsee. The Müggelsee is one of the lakes around, not just the Wannsee, but also the Müggelsee. All around you have the Grunewald, the beautiful forest that's around the big city with all the traffic and the pollution and the factories, where the trees are green for young and old. When the world goes crazy and seems upside down, we Berliners keep our humor and won't frown. We'll stick high our noses in the air. Why? Because Berliners were known for being a little bit arrogant, right? We'll stick high our noses in the air, 'cause through Berlin still flows river Spree. So that's the translation for the chorus. Now I'm going to teach it to you in German. Are you ready? All right, we'll do that. So you have it in the text. So let's go to the German. Scroll up again to find the German. Durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Let's say that. Durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. And here, durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Good? You okay? Next line. Dicht dabei, da ist der Müggelsee. Close by is the Müggelsee. Dicht dabei, there ist der Müggelsee. Do that with me. Dicht dabei, there ist der Müggelsee. Rundherum blüht noch der Grunewald. I give it to you in the rhythm, right? Rundherum, all around. Rundherum blüht noch der Grunewald. One more time. Rundherum blüht noch der Grunewald. Wo es was Grünes gibt, für jung und alt. Where you find something green for young and old. Again, what it implies is also the public access to all of these things. They were not behind walls for the nobility. They were public parks and forests. Important. So, wo es was Grünes gibt, für jung und alt. Wo es was Grünes gibt, für jung und alt. One more time. Wo es was Grünes gibt, für jung und alt. That's half of the refrain. Let's take it from the top. Are you ready? Shall I go a little slower? Okay. Durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Dicht dabei, da ist der Müggelsee. Rundherum noch blüht der Grunewald, wo es was Grünes gibt für jung und alt. Good. Second half. Wenn die tollsten Dinger in der Welt passieren. And tollst means really insane, crazy, yeah? So don't stick to the melody, just throw it out there, okay? Wenn die tollsten Dinger in der Welt passieren. Let's do it. Wenn die tollsten Dinger in der Welt passieren. Der Berliner wird nie den Humor verlieren. Let's do that. Der Berliner wird nie den Humor verlieren. Er hält stolz die Nase in die Höhe. He puts his nose up in the air. Er hält stolz die Nase in die Höhe. One more time. Er hält stolz die Nase in die Höhe. Denn durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Last time with attitude. Denn durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. You got that? Let's do the whole refrain again. And what I'll do then I'm coming to the chorus in between. It gets a bit too much, so I'll sing it in English and in my English translation, and then we'll go back to this refrain And then I'll sing the chorus again, this time in Berlinerisch, in Deutsch, really with an attitude. You've got to have that. And then we'll end one more time with the refrain. So here comes the chorus in between. Just enjoy and listen. Not long ago we went away in summer and waved our town goodbye. Now though we are broke and the only thing we've got is a hole in our wallet, shall we then wallow in despair? Oh no! Listen, Berliner air is all quite so, and mother's got something to eat still in the lodger. You better stay at home. Here comes the refrain. Durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Dicht dabei, da ist der Müggelsee. Rundherum noch blüht der Grunewald, wo es was Grünes gibt für jung und alt. Wenn die tollsten Dinger in der Welt passieren, der Berliner wird nie den Humor verlieren. Er hält stolz die Nase in die Höhe, denn durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Früher, da sagte man kreuzvergnügt im Sommer der Heimatstadt Ade. Heute hat leider so mancher brave Bürger ein Loch im Portemonnaie. Soll man darüber dann verzweifelt sein? Kinder, Berliner Luft ist auch ganz fein, und hat man bei Muttern noch irgendwas zu futtern, dann seht doch endlich ein. One last time. Durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Dicht dabei, da ist der Müggelsee. Rundherum noch blüht der Grunewald, wo es was Grünes gibt für jung und alt. Wenn die tollsten Dinger in der Welt passieren, der Berliner wird nie den Humor verlieren. Er hält stolz die Nase in die Höhe, denn durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree.
What a perfect song for today. What a perfect song. You know, no matter what's going on.
The image of a river flowing through something, even in the hardest times and in the greatest upsets, you find that in a lot of cultures and in a lot of literature. Think, for example, are you familiar with Die Moldau? It's a beautiful symphonic piece. Die Moldau is a river that flows through Poland, even when Poland was dissected or didn't, through 500-600 years of history, didn't even exist for a while. The river Moldau was the constant, and it really gave people who were beleaguered and suffering a sense of belonging, a sense of identity, a sense of continuity. Or think in America, think of the song Old Man River. That has that kind of power too.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm still trying to get this out. So cheerful, and the music is so lovely. So it kind of comes around to me for this question, and the song so beautifully brings it out. Here's my question, you know. Can a song make a difference in the world? We've talked about this in the past, and especially in view of what the Supreme Court ruled yesterday in our country. Where do you see, Christiana, that music falls in this grand scheme of things where the fate of so many lies in the hands of so few, and it's all guided by this political machine in whichever direction it goes? Where does music fit in to all of this big picture in terms of you?
Well, that's a huge question. How many hours have we got? There is an old proverb, an ancient proverb from the Middle Ages in German-speaking countries, maybe Switzerland and Austria as well. It says, Wo Menschen singen, lass dich ruhig nieder. Böse Menschen kennen keine Lieder. It means, if you're a stranger, if you see a group of people sitting down and singing together, you can go sit down with them and have some company. Evil people do not know songs, do not know singing together. So I think that's a really beautiful saying. in a nutshell, it shows we do need community. We do need something that's different from the daily humdrum and work, 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 or craziness, craziness, or side swiping, or whatever we do, Twitter, Twitter, Twitter. We need something where we can breathe, where we can listen, where we can look at each other, and where we maybe sing a hymn, or maybe sing a naughty song, or something familiar, or even a melody that people know in different languages, but it gives a connection. So through hard times, whether it's labor organizing or whether it's through wars and displacement, songs have always been a greeting and a gesture, and an effective gesture, a feeling of inclusion. And I find that very strongly, as long as, you know, I'm walking right now through Berlin, through streets that are called Tucholsky-Straße. I went to the Berliner Ensemble where Bertolt Brecht originated his plays, and saw a play just 3 days ago. Musicians and writers and poets and journalists were incarcerated, were thrown into jails. They were terrorized. Their families were thrown into jails, were shipped to concentration camps or to the Gulag in Russia. Writing and opening your mouth and advocating and singing seems dangerous to the people who want to oppress us. And we have to see that we have a power there, and we have to open our mouths.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin with this topic, and I know there are a lot of strong feelings about it, but I would be remiss in this conversation if I didn't ask you about something else in your background, because I was looking on your website and I see a tremendous jazz background. Now, my mother was a professional big band singer in Chicago, my hometown, and made records that were on the jukeboxes in Chicago and all this. And she sang a lot of the repertoire that appears on your website, and I listened to a few song samples. Number one, you have an incredible jazz voice. And I encourage anybody here on the DAS to go look up your website to hear some of these song samples. Great standards, songs that may be surprises to you. But first of all, where did you come by this wonderful voice? I know you spent some time in New York. And how did you come to embrace that particular style of music, which, by the way, I believe can provide us some antidote for the complications of this world? Where did you come to this?
I was always singing. Even as a little kid, I would sit by the fence and sing to the chickens on the other side of the fence. My mom was always singing, just like smearing butter on a bread or so. It was just like walking, or when we go to the kindergarten together. There was always a song there, a lullaby. So it was something really natural. And in school, I loved to sing in the choir, and I loved, of all things, I loved the Zauberflöte and the opera. I was an only child, and both my mom, single mom, and my grandmother had day jobs, so I spent many hours at home alone, listening to records and singing along. But it was mainly classical music, and I had some classical training during my high school years, and I was a child actor actually in the radio, which I loved. This was from age 10 on. I hopped a city bus and drove up to the radio station and said, "Where is the Kinderfunk?" And I introduced myself. My mom didn't know I went there. So for about 8 years, until I graduated from high school, I was there and did as a child actor a lot of things, which paid for part of my college education. It was great. And I studied theater in Berlin for Theaterwissenschaft, theater science. I was very interested in directing and all of that. So Bertolt Brecht and a lot of these songs were really important to me. It was important to me to not just do la 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 songs, but something that had a use, that had a meaning, that could be useful for, let's say, it had to earn its bread, the music. So coming to America then on a scholarship, on a student exchange to New Orleans, I suddenly was like, wow, thrown into a whole different culture. And it was delicious. Whatever I read in books couldn't compare to what I lived and breathed and smelled and heard and danced to until sunup, and then we went for beignets at the Café du Monde, and the other things I won't tell you about. But so this was great, and I still had. That's when I, for the first time, heard some standards from the Great American Songbook, but I couldn't really place it or know what it was about, except that a lot of those Cole Porter things and Hello Dolly and so had come to the German or European theater stage in German, and I didn't even know they were American songs. So in New York then, where my husband and I raised our family, I met right in our neighborhood in Park Slope. There was this big Victorian house with a sign, jazz lessons. And I walked by this house from the subway like for 4 months. I was too scared to ring the bell. And I finally did. And this big tall man came out and said, so you want to learn jazz? Oh. So I had to do a lot of listening. Charles Sibirski with a 12-foot Steinway Grand in his parlor, and he was a real bebop pianist. He made me listen to Billie Holiday. He made me listen to Lester Young, to Charlie Parker. I learned to sing along those bebop lines. He made me listen very much to Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald. And slowly, I began to understand what it's about, and learning also the bones, the theory that underlies these songs. And that was 40 years ago, and I've never looked back. I really love the standards of the Great American Songbook. They're beautiful songs. They're well crafted. They're often very witty, or just good texts. And the ones that have texts that I don't care for, I don't do those songs. Like the so-called doormat songs, yeah, he can hit me and this and that, and I'll always come back. No, I don't do those songs.
You know, I was just noticing I don't keep my eye closely on the chat at these daily anecdotes of song. I try to remain present. There was like a noticeable absence of comments in the chat for the last little while where you spoke about your background, and that tells me that people were very engrossed in hearing what you had to say and didn't want to miss a word. So kudos for that. Certainly that's an aspect of this community, is to say hello to one another in the chat. But I feel like we need a solid week with you, you know, to hear about your history and to be reminded of how music can get into a soul, you know, from a very early age. You know, my mother spent a fortune on a $600 piano when I was a kid. It's still in her house out in Los Angeles. And she didn't play it much. And later on, she told me she was hoping that she bought it because she was hoping one day I might go to it. You know, that I might go there and want to sit there and play music. So what's a highlight from a gig you did in New York City, my home of 10 years, the 1980s? What's the first thing that comes to your mind as a highlight of singing this jazz in New York City, arguably one of the epicenters of jazz music in the whole world? What's a highlight that comes to mind?
Apart from the gig that I did a month ago at Blues Alley, right in Washington, D.C., I have usually one gig there at this great jazz club once a year, and I'm really grateful, and so grateful to Harry Schnipper for doing that. That's always one of my current highlights. But in New York, my God, I'm drawing a blank right now, but but what I had really done a lot was develop my But Goes a Weasel Jazz for Kids, which we've been doing. I developed that in all the public libraries, and that is certainly a highlight. Just doing simple blues and a back and forth and getting the kids involved and having my little quartet play with me. And you know, that is truly so wonderful, because I think the little kids from age 2 to 10, I can grab them, and their parents haven't listened to any of this music, but I can grab the little ones, and I love it. So I would say that's really one of my passionate highlights right now.
Are you back to doing this live now? Has that started up again?
Not yet. COVID is still, you know, I'm in the mosh pit with the kids rolling on the rock. So that's still too close for comfort, and I miss it. But I hope we can do it again very soon.
Yeah, I
And so
want
in
to
the
be
meantime, I do a lot of senior homes. I play all these songs from Stardust to Tisket a Tasket for all the folks who know these songs and wake up and sing along and cry or hold my hand. That is so fulfilling. Again, those things really get me through these incredibly hard times.
Yeah, I want to ask if Erin's out there can put your website in the chat once more so that that is
Yeah.
there. I encourage you, or as some of you know, I encourage you to check out what she's got going there because this is a fascinating musician who is in our presence today.
It's
Uh,
easy. It's just my name, ChristianaDrapkin.com. I also have my Christiana Drapkin Sings Facebook page. Be my friend. I know we're already friends for real here, you know.
and truly, truly a beautiful, beautiful singer. And now to know that there's so much depth to the connection of what you sing about, which is not always the case. Some people are singing notes. You know, you're singing your life through the songs you have chosen, and that's a very beautiful thing.
Wow. Okay. I'm blushing.
How about we go through the song one more time? And if I had one wish, I
Yes.
wish I could have heard a tape recording of every single person on this chat today singing along with you in German because I know that my pronunciation, maybe I hit a few vowel sounds along the way, but that was about it. I'd love to hear what you, so take out your cell phones, everybody, record how you're singing along and let's hear what that sounds like sometime.
Gallery view. Now I want to see a show of hands. Do you want us to sing it out in English or in Berlinerisch? No, I can't do an either or question. Hold on. Who wants to sing it through in English? 1, 2, 3. Who wants to sing it in Berlinerisch? With a lot of attitude. Okay, 28. You got it. Okay, so we do it in Berlinerisch. You do have the text, so I'm sure you can also clip and paste it in case you want it, or I'll send it to you again. But we'll do it in German, and I'll go with the verse up with the chorus a little slowly in the beginning, just that we can all catch up. Okay, here we go. Durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Dicht dabei, da ist der Müggelsee. Rundherum blüht noch der Grunewald, wo es was Grünes gibt für jung und alt. Wenn die tollsten Dinge auf der Welt passieren, der Berliner wird nie den Humor verlieren. Er hält stolz die Nase in die Höhe, denn durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Früher, da sagte man kreuzvergnügt im Sommer der Heimatstadt Ade. Heute hat leider so mancher brave Bürger ein Loch im Portemonnaie. Soll man darüber denn verzweifelt sein? Kinder, Berliner Luft ist auch ganz fein. So hat man beim Muttern noch irgendwas zu futtern, dann seht doch endlich ein. Again. Durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Dicht dabei noch ist der Müggelsee. Rundherum noch blüht der Grunewald, wo es was Grünes gibt für jung und alt. Wenn die tollsten Dinge in der Welt passieren, der Berliner wird nie den Humor verlieren. Er hält stolz die Nase in die Höhe, denn durch Berlin fließt immer noch die Spree. Great to see you all rocking out to it.
Yes, we thank you so much, boy. I forgot to record myself. I'd love to hear how some of you were making out on the German hour. That would be awesome. Christiana, this has been very, very meaningful at a very good time. I know I needed this today, and that's why this program is so antidotal. I want to thank Erin, for her great tech support today. I know Joe is out there somewhere. Give me a thumbs up, Erin. Is it time to say goodbye? Is there any last word from you, Christiana, before we bid our friends? Is there a short way to say goodbye in German besides Auf Wiedersehen? Is there a shorter way? What is it?
You
Okay.
spell it. Let
Well,
me write it in the chat how
write
you
it in the
spell this
chat
word.
so that I can mispronounce yet another German word.
Yeah. Hold on to everyone in meeting. Okay. TSCHUESS exclamation mark. Tschüss. It's like
Tschüss.
ciao, okay,
Okay.
in German.
Well, all right. So please go to Christiana's website and pass it around to your friends. I want to thank you so much, Christiana, and I want to say tschüss to Annette Perron, Carolyn in Boise, Kathleen in Albuquerque. Tschüss, Caroline. Tschüss, Storm. Tschüss, Ruth. Susan Miller. Tschüss. Luda and Mark, still with the perfect heart. Now it's two. Tschüss, tschüss, tschüss. Jim, yep. Ralph and Victoria. Steve and Michelle Schuster. That's a pair of shoeses, I guess. Becky, a goodbye to you. Busy, always great to see you. Thank you for your comments in the chat.